What's the value of being consistent when all the circumstances around you are changing? Where's the strength in sticking to your position when everything around you is in metamorphosis? I know and appreciate the value of consistency. I don't deny it. And so earlier this week, I read with interest an opinion piece penned by one of my friends in the Senate Democratic Caucus making the argument that amongst the most important reasons to preserve the 60-vote threshold in the Senate is to advance the value of consistency and tradition in American politics. Yes, right now there is a disagreement amongst Senate Democrats and between the majority of Senate Democrats and the majority of Senate Republicans about how the Senate should operate. But there's no merit in hiding this dispute. There's no valor in letting others define the terms or lay out the conflicting arguments, which I readily submit are compelling on both sides. So let's have the debate. Let's have it right here. No more shadow boxing. The stakes, I would argue, are too important. At the very moment when Americans have less faith than ever before that this place has the capacity to implement the will of the people, the 60-vote threshold is a slap in the face of majoritarianism, which is the bedrock principle of American democracy, the idea that the majority of people get to decide the direction of this country, not elites, not oligarchs like in other nations, people, regular people. To say that Americans can have an election, choose leaders of a particular view, and then watch while the rules of democracy deliberately stop the voters' will from being enacted is to thumb our nose at the American electorate at the very moment when they are actively considering whether American democracy has anything left to offer them. This preference for policy consistency, intentionally blind to the merits of policy over direct democracy, is particularly insidious at this moment in American history. First, because the 60-vote threshold is being used in a very, very different way today than it has at any time prior in our nation's history. I submit to you that today, right now, the replacement of popular will by anti-majoritarian rule rigging could destroy us. To value consistency or tradition above everything else, I think you have to be pretty certain that everybody in your club, everybody on your team, is guided by the same foundational goal. In the last year, a Democratic Rubicon has been crossed by one party, and we can't ignore this devastating blow to our nation. You cannot value consistency in practice when a large faction of your group's members don't believe in the underlying mission of your organization any longer. Giving Republicans a veto power over legislation when they no longer believe in the same way the Democrats do or Republicans used to in the sacredness of the vote is to risk the voluntary destruction of our democracy. Consistency as a value has merit. It does. But in this business, consistency is often put on an unhealthy pedestal. When democracy itself is being attacked in a brutal, coordinated, and unprecedented volley of blows, what is the good of holding to a position just for the sake of being consistent if the primary consequence is to simply greenlight the assault to continue? Consistency and tradition and bipartisanship, they matter, but not at the expense of democracy. Not at a moment when millions of voters are questioning the wisdom of American democracy because no matter who they elect, nothing seems to change. And not when one party has increasingly abandoned the joint project to which all members of this body swore an oath as a condition of our membership. I yield the floor.